Well, you guys know me. Anytime I come across an incredible Hearts of Iron 4 mod, and especially a really crazy Hearts of Iron 4 mod, I want to show it off to you guys. And guys, we are looking at Pax Britannica, an Imperial timeline. I think you can already see something going on here with, of course, mechs in the background and little gears turning in the head of this woman here. Now, I've already got quite a incredible game going. We're going to jump into that and take a look. But I just wanted to show you guys kind of what to expect and what this world is really all about. So as you can see, of course, you have the British under George V. You've got the Germans under Rudolph II. And, of course, the French under Jacques Doriot. Now, we'll get to this fellow Jacques Doriot a little bit in the future. Suffice it to say, he is a bit of a dictator. And in this bizarre setup or timeline, I guess you could say, what actually ends up happening is that, as you can see, France was the one to declare war on Germany during World War I, and as a result, Imperial Britain and the Kingdom of Italy came to defeat the French. I know, it's pretty insane, and in fact, if you just look across the actual countries, you can see that things have changed pretty dramatically all around the world. In fact, if you get to the United States, well, the Louisiana Purchase simply never occurred, and so all the United States has is, of course, a government under John W. Davis. And what do you know? The United Commonwealth is actually a subject of Imperial Britain. Yeah, things get pretty crazy in this mod. And if you think this is the craziest things get, you have no idea what's to come, friends. As you can see, you've even got a Confederacy of Free Tribes and the Republic of Texas. And for those fans of the California Republic, you've got that too. Although, unfortunately, no bear in this one. Now, if you have played TNO or any of those mods, you'll know that the national focuses can get pretty intense. And in fact, just here as the French, we can see that many of the national focuses really do are make part of a sort of authoritarian government approach, francifying the borderlands, for instance, wiping out all German populations on that borderland area, amongst many other things. An economy of castes, actually creating a racial caste system within your game to, of course, keep production going. So many different possibilities here, guys. And as you can see, I mean, I wasn't kidding when I said there's a large research tree here. Just look at how absolutely massive this is. This is, of course, for France, and there's any number of different ideological paths you can go down, from monarchy to communism to a democratic state. In my case, I went for an insane revanchist state. And when I say insane revanchist state, one of the things that you can do in this game, which is completely up to you, of course, is you can research some pretty crazy stuff. Well, some pretty controversial stuff, and this is where the game gets interesting. So if you guys take a look over here, we've got an entire screen dedicated to the building of mechs. Mechs are a part of the game. They're called automats, and each country is going to have their own kind of, mech style. If we jump over here to augments, guys, well, did I mention there are basically xenomorphs in the game? For any number of reasons, occult scientists have managed to actually open warp gates. And with these warp gates, we can actually bring in primordial aliens. That's right. What do? They go in, they kill hundreds, thousands of people. But the interesting thing is they're only given an 18-hour life expectancy. So you can, of course, use these amalgamates as weapons against the rest of the world. We've also got enhanced human focus, so of course we go into a biological focus of just adding essentially armored parts to human bodies, also bringing in razor maidens, women that are able to shift between different locations, go forward and backward in time. I mean, things get pretty extreme here. And I mean, if you think that's all, I can assure you it definitely isn't. In fact, if chemical warfare is your thing, well, that's something you can also work on here. As you can see, I've gone for a country with a 0 literacy rate, because let's be honest, if you're going to run a proper dictatorship, the last thing that you need, guys, is a literate country. The two things just, unfortunately, don't really go together. And I wasn't kidding when I was talking about chemical warfare. In fact, we've got weapons of mass destruction over here, germ warfare going all the way to 1942. You can even bring in anthrax colonies, bioengineered smallpox, I mean, like I said, this mod is 100% cursed. You can be the absolute most evil human being in this mod, and I've seen some pretty crazy stuff in the Hearts of Iron 4 world, but this one really does an incredible job. And the part about this mod that I really, really appreciate, that I really enjoy, is when you take a look at that research tree, guys, when you take a look at the national focus tree, they have changed everything. I see a lot of these mods come out, and I go to the research tree, and I'm like, this is basically just a carbon copy of what we had before. That is not the case here. In fact, just about everything about the wars we are aware of has changed. So, for instance, tanks are called land ships. Artillery, I forget the name, but they also have their own designation. And just really gives you, I guess, a very original approach to the game. Did I also mention that wars can get pretty intense in this particular game? Of course, I am playing as National Revanchist France, but if you go down the list, there are a ton of other countries that are supporting me, which is pretty incredible. Now, something else I should mention, and I don't know how anybody really is going to feel about this, but if we just take a quick look here at the faction map mode, now, of course, we've got the League of Nations, we've got, of course, my Pax Revanchiste all in one massive world war, but you might notice that pretty much everything is either an empire or, some sort of authoritarian state. And yeah, basically, in the start of this mod, of course, things can change. But in the start of this mod, despite it being 1940, what for us would be World War II, of course, there are essentially just a bunch of kingdoms. That's it. Now, you can, of course, have revolutions, and you can change those kingdoms to more democratic states, to republics, things of that nature. But you definitely start off with an almost exclusively monarchist approach here. So if that's your thing, hey, by all means, take a look. Now, when you look at the actual recruit and deployment, things are also going to look differently here. Of course, you can work on your mechs. You can even, of course, add those hard suits. So, for instance, with this army, I've got mechs, I've got hard suits, and I've got Panzerhounds. What are Panzerhounds? Well, they're sort of robotic canines that go out and absolutely destroy the enemy. But of course, as you can imagine, it does take time to increase the strength, the reliability of a lot of these different mech suits. Now, in terms of decisions, guys, this game has them and has a lot of them. Now, of course, since we are working with a French revanchist state, basically a French fascist state, we do have a lot of different issues specific to our country. So, for instance, there is an inter-service rivalry, very similar with the rivalry between the SS and the Wehrmacht in the German army. And if you don't control those inner political issues in your own country, well, then it's very likely that you yourself can be overthrown here. But this particular world, it's a dark one. It's a pretty violent one, a vicious one. And as you can see, a large part of the world, of course, we talked about the monarchies before, but a large part of the world are actually controlled by religious theocracies. In fact, Portugal is controlled by a nun. Yeah, you really can't make this stuff up. Now, there is one large negative to this particular mod, but I do believe it's something that's going to be fixed fairly soon, and that is that only Germany, France, and Great Britain really have content. So essentially, if you jump into a country like the Hungarian Common Republic here, you're going to see there's nothing to actually play with. They're essentially just placeholders. If we go back to the main menu, of course, then we can choose from one of the three great powers. And I think one of the benefits here, oh yeah, that's right, there are Tesla related things as well. One of the great benefits here is because of the fact that you only have three powers, and actually we do have one coming soon, Russia. It really allows you to get those massive, massive tech trees, just a huge amount of customization. And also, I should have mentioned, I didn't really show it in this video, but there is a storyline associated with this mod told from various different perspectives. So you might have a storyline told from the perspective of the leader of the country, or maybe even the country's security services, spies within the country, down to just the common man. And it's very well-written stuff. The occasional spell check error here and there, but I really, really enjoy this one. I am hoping for a bright future for it, and especially for those of you that like mechs, the world of Scythe, H.P. Lovecraft, hell, even xenomorphs and aliens. this is definitely the mod for you. If you're a fan of TNO, then you're absolutely going to love this one too. Well, guys, if this helped you make a decision or reach a decision, in regards to this mod, please do make sure to help me out by liking, commenting, and subscribing. Also, make sure to hit that bell for notifications and consider becoming a Centurion by hitting that join button today. I hope you guys have a great time and try not to use those chemical weapons all too often.